I talked about the ABC shows, I talked about Netflix, and now it's time to talk about Freeform and the Hulu shows.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the MrEliMac channel. I'm your host, MrEliMac, and today it is time to finally officially wrap up What If the MCU was the DCCU, a franchise, a series of videos that I started all the way back of December of last year talking about phases 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now I've been wrapping up fully talking about all this with all of the TV shows that weren't mentioned in those prior videos. And so I'm finally getting into the Hulu shows and the Freeform show of Cloak and Dagger. And again, if you noticed in the very first video, I very much accidentally spoiled what that was, which Cloak and Dagger will be Hawk and Dove. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that right now. But The Runaways is going to be a very interesting one. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to telling you what I'm doing with The Runaways, and you may be surprised because this was actually meant to be in the MCU, Hellstrom. Because, yeah, that was supposed to be in the MCU. Surprisingly, it wasn't a good show from everything I've heard. I'm eventually gonna go back and watch it. Maybe. Who knows? I still need to watch Inhumans. But anyway, before I get into the video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. That way you can be up to date with all the videos I have here on the channel. Also, hit the notification bell. That way you can be notified whenever a new video like this comes your way. And so, with that out of the way, let's get into the pitches! That's right, because for The Runaways, I'm going into another superhero team that is in the DCU, a little tongue-tied, but it's not a younger team. No, in fact, this is a team that was very much created, I think, in the 1980s, with a lot of characters that really didn't have a direction at the time, and it was also around the time when Batman left the Justice League in the 80s. So, if you don't already know that, the team I'm going to be focusing or doing my analog for The Runaways is The Outsiders. So yes, The Outsiders are my analogs for The Runaways. 3 seasons of The Outsiders, since we got 3 seasons of The Runaways. And the reason why I picked The Outsiders was because I wanted this show to connect a little bit more with the idea that Batman left the Justice League, because this show would be debuting a year after Superman Tower of Babel in 2017, so I wanted to very much connect this with that idea of, oh, since Batman left the Justice League, he's going to be creating his own team, though I don't believe I have, let me just double check. Oh yes, I do have the actor who plays Batman cameoing, and I think the first episode, and Alfred is sort of a major supporting character in the show. He's not someone that would be in like the main title sequence, but he would be someone that is a recurring character. So with that out of the way, let me get into the synopsis for Season 1 of The Outsiders. After Batman cuts ties with the Justice League, he decided to form a new team that could defeat crime in a Black Ops way. He assembled Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, Brion Markov, aka Geo-Force, Gabrielle Doe, aka Halo, Tatsu Yamashiro, aka Katana, Rex Mason, aka Metamorpho, and Emily Briggs, aka Looker. Their first major mission deals with trying to defeat Baron Bedlam in Markovia. And so yes, this season is very much based off of the original first run of The Outsiders. And also, if you're a fan of the Young Justice show, this is sort of like the inspiration of the Young Justice show. In fact, of Season 3, that is called Young Justice Outsiders. And this is sort of that idea of just, this team is going to Markovia and to take down Baron Bedlam, who is related to Brion Markov. I like that idea, so I'm going to continue that. And dealing very much with Baron Bedlam and the Bad Samaritan, which, when I did the research, I was actually surprised that that was legitimately the first arc of The Outsiders. And I'm very much glad that Young Justice, the TV show, just did that story as well. So yeah, it will consist of the team that I mentioned: Black Lightning, Geo-Force, Halo, Katana, Metamorpho, Looker, and it's them going up against Baron Frederick DeLam, aka Baron Bedlam, and the Bad Samaritan. Those two are sort of like the two main antagonists, but we'll also have them with their own metahuman henchmen who are also in that first arc of The Outsiders, which would be Cold Snap, Heat Stroke, New Wave, and Shakedown. By the way, I fan casted this as well. The actor who I fan cast as Shakedown is Randy Orton, just because I like the idea of a wrestler being a supervillain. It just makes sense, and especially when it's Randy Orton. But yeah, they would also see characters like Gregor Markov, Brion's twin brother. He would be a major character in this season. Dr. Helga Jace would be a major character in this season. And it's very much just the first arc of the comic, of just the team assembling together for the first time, trying to do a Black Ops mission that's completely different by the way the Justice League does it, because Batman is very much like, hey, I am someone that works in the shadows. We need to work in the shadows, otherwise the Justice League's gonna find us, and then, you know, all that craziness again. And that's sort of the first season, just the Outsiders working together to take down Baron Bedlam, and them sort of working together, sort of getting used to each other. Like, a major thing would be Brion sort of being the newer hero of them all. Like, sort of the newer heroes would be Geo-Force, Halo, and Looker. Black Lightning is the very experienced character. Very much think of the Black Lightning TV show, and like I even brought that actor in to return to play that character in my version of the universe, because I really loved Cress Williams' performance as Black Lightning. So I was like, I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to have him play Black Lightning again. So imagine that version of Black Lightning is just the guy who is just a teacher or the principal of a school, and now Batman's like, hey, you got to join me, do this Black Ops stuff. So in my mind, Black Lightning, Katana, and Metamorpho are sort of the more experienced heroes, and so they're having to work together with like 3 newer heroes and 3 experienced heroes working together to take down Baron Bedlam. And that's very much the first season of The Outsiders. And then we move on to the second season of The Outsiders, which, when I did research, this is also like the second story arc of The Outsiders' original comic book run. So I'm very much continuing with the idea of just following the arcs. The third season is definitely not the third arc. It was just me trying to work with something, and I'll tell you when we get there. But season 2 takes place in 2018, which around the time when it would come out, December of 2018, Batman's gone. So the synopsis goes, with Batman gone, the Outsiders needed someone to lead them. They all chose Jefferson Pierce, aka Black Lightning, because of his previous experience. Now the team must fight off a group of former US military corrupted by the anti-life equation. This team is known as the Force of July. Real supervillains in the DC Pantheon, the Force of July. And I very much looked at the original story arc, and I was like, well, I can't really do this set in my universe around this time, so I need to make it sort of similar. And with Darkseid being on Earth and the anti-life equation being a major thing, I just decided to go, oh, these are people who are in the US military and they got corrupted by the anti-life equation, and now they're just a team and they're trying to do good for the United States. And so that's very much the idea of this season right here, and it's Black Lightning, Geo-Force, Halo, Katana, Metamorpho, and Looker working together again to go up against the Force of July, which is led by a character named Abraham Lincoln Carlisle, who is sort of their leader, like the older, like, I am sort of the Nick Fury of this team. But then the team consists of Major Victory, Lady Liberty, Mayflower, Silent Majority, and Sparkler. Yes, that's the team's name. Those are their names. Look, everyone knows superhero comic book characters' names are a little on the nose, but that's really out there and very on the nose for a team known as the Force of July. But anyway, they're fighting each other. That's sort of the main thing of just the outsiders trying to stop this team that thinks they're doing the right thing for America when actually they're hurting the country and the world by extension because they are infected by the dark light anti-life equation. Alfred is still a recurring character in this season, mainly because Alfred wasn't the one that went away in New Genesis, which is in reference to what happened at the end of my Justice League movie. That is the analog to the Justice League Infinity War, Justice League Darkseid War. If you want to watch that, you can go watch it. It's in the playlist of the pitch list. You'll be able to find it. And so Gregor Markov and Dr. Helga Jace return. But this is also the season that we introduce Jefferson's daughters, Anissa and Jennifer Pierce, and also Grace Choi. This is when we introduce those characters, because I think they're fun characters, and I really like them in the Black Lightning TV show. And since Black Lightning is a character that has kids that get powers and become superheroes, I'm just gonna go ahead and start fleshing out the outsiders. And so yeah, season 2 is very much the outsiders versus the 4th of July, and very much the main ideological stuff of these people, the 4th of July, think they're doing good for the United States, but the outsiders know that they're not. And so for the people that aren't fully infected by the anti-life equation, because in my mind, whenever I look at Darkseid taking over the world with the anti-life equation, only a handful of people get infected by the anti-life equation. They don't turn into zombies like Deceased, but it's just they are still, there are people that get infected, but then there are people that aren't. Darkseid is just on his own little land where he's just doing Darkseid stuff of just sitting there and like Darkseid does. And so this is sort of the repercussions of, oh no, these are people that are still living the world. The world is still going the way it normally would. It's just, now it's just Darkseid, just the ruler of the planet. And sort of, when you look at Apocalypse, Darkseid never nitpicked the world of Apocalypse. He just sat on his throne, and that's sort of what's happening here. It's just, it's taking a little bit more time for the planet Earth to truly turn into Apocalypse-like planet. And so that's very much here. It's just the 4th of July is thinking that they're doing what's best for the United States with trying to accept Darkseid into their life, and the outsiders no, that's not right at all, and we're gonna make sure you know that's not right, and we're gonna do what is actually right for the people. And so yeah, that's season 2 of the Outsiders. And then season 3 is the harder one, because season 3 of The Runaways was very much, they introduced Morgan Le Fay and had a lot of that magic stuff be in it. And I know DC Comics has a very prominent version of Morgan Le Fay in the universe, but I was very much I don't want to use Morgan Le Fay again, because then it's just a full-on copy-paste of The Runaways onto my version of it. So I still wanted to make it my own version, and that's very much what I did. It's still a magical-based main antagonist, but it's still sort of, it's still my thing. So anyway, with the synopsis of The Outsiders Season 3, after the events of Justice League Rebirth and the death of Batman, the Outsiders are deciding whether it'd be a better idea to disband the team since Batman created it. However, a new threat named Eclipso is causing havoc in Markovia. The Outsiders decide that if they're going to end this team, they need to do it where it all began. So very much this season is back on Markovia, and it's just, ending it where it began. So season 1 began on Markovia, we're ending it in Markovia, and Eclipso is the main antagonist. And instead of it just being the original 6, Black Lightning, Geo-Force, Halo, Katana, Metamorpho, and Looker, this is when we're adding Thunder, Anissa Pierce, and Lightning, Jennifer Pierce, onto the team of the Outsiders. Grace Choi is also being added onto the team. And then in one episode, because they did it in The Runaways, we get a cameo and a full episode dedicated to the 2 characters that were from the Cloak and Dagger analog, which are Hawk and Dove, Hank Hall and Don Granger. So they're going to be appearing in one episode, helping out the team. And again, the main antagonist is Eclipso, trying to take over the world with magic. And yeah, there's really nothing else to elaborate on that. It's just, the team has to go up against magic, and Eclipso is that magical being. And he's trying to take over the world, and so the Outsiders have to work together to fully take him out. And they do that. And victory, and after this, at the end of in the final episode, the Outsiders disband. Very much once we start getting into the Phase 4 of the DCCU, that's when a lot of the stuff from Phase 1 to Phase 3 start going away. Like Star Labs went away, the original idea of the Titans sort of went away. They will eventually be coming back. I do promise that the concept of the Titans will return in Phase 5 or maybe even Phase 6. But as of right now, the original concept of the Titans from the Netflix show is no longer around for right now. And so yeah, the original idea of the Outsiders is now gone, no longer with us. And yeah, that's very much Outsiders. That's the Outsider show. And yeah, Gregor Markov and Dr. Helga Jace return. Alfred really isn't in this season as much because he's still dealing with the repercussions of what happened in Justice League Rebirth, and still happening with the aftermath of that, you know, because at the end of Justice League Rebirth, if you remember, Alfred gave Nightwing a flash drive, basically with Bruce telling Nightwing that, hey, I want you to become Batman. And if you watch Nightwing and Batgirl, from the Phase 4 video, that is the analog of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's very much that entire storyline being wrapped up. And yeah, that's what I would do with Outsiders Season 3, and that is the Outsiders show. And so now I'm moving over to the Cloak and Dagger analog, which if you watch the very first video, I accidentally slipped and gave it away, which is Hawk and Dove. Hawk and Dove are characters that you could easily slip into the Outsiders, but also Hawk and Dove are very much, when you look at them, sort of the characters of sort of the main love couple, the main couple of any sort of DC universe. It seems like whenever it's a male hawk and a female dove, they somehow are together in some way, shape, or form in a relationship, and sort of like Cloak and Dagger, how they're almost always together. So I just decided to continue with that trend and make that this. And so the synopsis for Hawk and Dove, because this comes out in 2018 and actually right after Darkseid War, so this goes right into post Darkseid War and sort of how the DCCU is looking like with Darkseid in charge. So going into this, the synopsis is, after the anti-life equation takes over, Hank Hall, aka Hawk, and Dawn Granger, aka Dove, decide that they need to do their best to protect their city. In particular, a person named Dakan is preaching the good word of Darkseid, and they do their hardest to stop him from fully converting those in the community. So very much this is an idea of Hawk and Dove trying to make sure their city is safe, and because of that they have to take down the fake prophet known as Dakan, who is very much, oh, Darkseid is with us, Darkseid is for us, very much a religious allegory of how some people would preach the good word and such, and very much use that as a way to do evil. I'm not saying everyone does that, I'm just saying some people are known for doing that, of preaching the good word, but actually they do it with ill content, like sort of the Westboro Baptist Church. And so Hawk and Dove are very much trying to stop him from doing the evil. And there's also another supporting antagonist known as Hunter, who is sort of more the physical antagonist that Hawk and Dove are mainly fighting. We will see members of Hank Hall and Dawn Granger's family, like Don Hall is going to be in it, and he won't be Dove in this, but he's someone that is sort of in the peripheral of the supporting cast. Dawn's family, Marie Granger and Holly Granger, will also be in it. And we'll also see a character that I don't think a lot of people have actually seen, but Judge Irwin Hall, who is sort of Hank and Dawn's father, so he'll also be in this show as well. It's sort of very much getting more into the roots of Hawk and Dove as characters and their sort of supporting cast. And yeah, that's very much Season 1, Hawk and Dove just trying to take out a fanatic of Darkseid known as Dakan. And then we move over to Season 2, which is also the final season of Cloak and Dagger, which is just, this is post, actually no, looking at when the movie comes out, or when the show comes out, I believe it is before and during the events of Rebirth. So sort of, I'll just say that this takes place, the entire season takes place before Justice League Rebirth, because it just makes sense continuity-wise that it would take place before all that. So the following synopsis is for season 2 is: after defeating Dukan, Hawk and Dove are still holding off Darkseid's forces. However, another convert of Darkseid aims to kill Hawk and Dove. His name is Kestrel. Kestrel will stop at nothing to make sure that the two can't stop Darkseid, and they're going to protect the people as much as they can. And Kestrel, he's sort of like an evil version of, physically, when you look at his image, just an evil version of Hawk. And I'm not lying, I'm looking at a picture right now. He looks like Hawk, but just wearing light purple and black. And so very much that's the main antagonist of this season, of him just trying to, after being possessed and given powers by Darkseid, just trying his hardest to keep the world the way it is, and trying to make people see the love of Darkseid and see the power, show people to see the power of what Darkseid can do. And just Hawk and Dove trying to prevent any more chaos. And this is sort of, because in my mind, Hawk and Dove aren't superpowered characters, and this is their first dealing with a character that is superpowered, hence why I think they would also work with the Outsiders, because they're not superpowered characters. And I just love seeing Hawk and Dove in the Outsiders. They have been members of that team, and so I just think it would be nice to see. So overall, yeah, it's just Hawk and Dove trying to take down Kestrel and trying to continue to protect their city from being taken over by Darkseid's forces. And that's very much Hawk and Dove Season 2. And now we move over to the final show of the Hulu universe, and this mini freeform Hulu universe. They tried to do another show. They tried to do Ghost Rider, but that ultimately didn't get off the ground. And so very much the TV show that I am talking about is Hellstrom. And so for the version of Hellstrom, which is a very obscure character in the Marvel Pantheon, if you are a Hellstrom fan, wow, I didn't know you existed. Because Hellstrom, again, is such an obscure character. And so I also decided to go for an obscure character, and that is Dr. Occult, or Dr. Occult. I can't actually remember I don't actually know how to properly pronounce Occult. I think it's Occult. So, I'll just say Occult. Dr. Occult. That sounds more correct. And so, Damien Hellstrom's analog is Richard Occult, and Anna Hellstrom's analog is Rose Psychic, who are two characters that normally work together in the comics, and they're very much trying to work together to stop an evil. And it's mainly just when Richard and Rose were children, a demon known as Koth was brought to this planet and this realm, and they were gonna and Richard and Rose were gonna get killed to bring Koth onto our realm, this earthly realm. And so very much it's just Richard and Rose just trying to find all the evil that Koth has been doing this entire 1 season, 10 episode show, and just trying to take him out and put him back in hell. And he's very much the main antagonist. We also have supporting characters of Marley, who is Rose's secretary. There's another character who is an interesting character. His name is Mr. E, and it's an interesting character because I've used that as a nickname before for like just a wrestling character. I've wanted to create it as a manager, like his name was Mr. E, and so I never knew that was a real character. So Mr. E is someone that is very much a mentor or just a peer of Dr. Occult and Rose, and very much they work together with Mr. E. And another character is Robot Crane, sort of a sci-fi character with this magical characters, but he's also he was a major supporting character of Richard back in the 40s or in the 30s or 20s, or whenever Richard Occult was first introduced. He was a supporting character for him. So I thought it'd be nice to have him come in and sort of just another crazy character for the show. And also Zator will be in the show as well, who is sort of another major mentor figure for Richard and Rose. And sort of the big thing at the very end of Hellstrom was that they revealed who was Damien and Anna's father, who was Marduk. and he was supposed to be like the major antagonist for the show, I believe, but they only lasted one season. And so I decided to do that as well, and I decided that character should be Neron. I can't remember if I put Neron in some other stuff, but I don't think I did, so I just decided, hello, Neron has been brought to Earth, and so he's gonna be a major problem. And so yeah, that was the show. It's just Richard and Rose working together, solving supernatural crimes, trying to stop Koth, and at the very end, Neron is released on Earth. And so since that's gonna be a thing, that's a little nugget that could be solved in a future episode of this, and a future story. Maybe if I do a Constantine, which I do have plans for Constantine in my DCCU. But other than that, that is the end of that. That is the end of that. That is me looking at the Hulu and Freeform shows and going, hey, here's my idea for them. And also, I forgot to mention up top, this is very heavily inspired by the Twitter thread that Hector Navarro did with his friends, and me just taking all these ideas that they posted and just creating my own little universe with it, creating my own stories with it. And so yeah, I just wanted to mention that he was very much the inspiration for all that. And yeah, this is sort of the end of me discussing what if the MCU was the DCCU until the end of Phase 5. And so yeah, until we get to that point, I'm not going to be talking about the MCU, what if the MCU is the DCCU, for a while, but I will promise that I will be releasing a weekly video every single week. It may not be a pitch video every week now, because making pitch videos are very hard, and trying to think of a concept every single week is hard. I can think of them, but it's just trying to keep them in my head and remember that they're in my noggin, and trying to remember the ideas is very difficult for me to keep. I'm very bad at writing notes, so I'm just saying that right now. I'm very bad at writing them down. But yeah, there will be a video every single week. I'm thinking about doing something new, something different, called just MrEliMac Rants, which is just me taking a topic and just doing an entire video on it that doesn't need to have like the pitch this idea around it. But yeah, I hope everyone liked this video. I hope you liked the ideas that I came up with for the alternate TV show ideas. They were something that they were ideas that I had, but they were also like ideas that I didn't know if I wanted to tell everyone, because when it comes to discussing these shows, in particular the ABC shows, the Netflix shows, and the Freeform and the Hulu shows, everyone has confusion whether they're actually canon or not. So that's why I never actually talked about them in my phase videos. And so yeah, what were everyone's thoughts on these ideas? Whatever they are, I hope they were positive, but if you didn't like them, you can post them in the comments down below. If you liked them, you can post them in the comments down below. I will accept all comments and all like feedback and all. I will accept it all. Also, again, don't forget to hit the like button. It really does help me in the algorithm. It helps get this video out to more people. That way people can look at these videos and be like, oh, this is an interesting concept, this is an interesting title, I will click on it and I will watch it. So yeah, it really does help me. Also, again, hit the subscribe button, that way you can be up to date with all the videos I have here on the channel. Also hit the little notification bell, that way you can be notified whenever a new video like this, or whenever the new MrEliMac Rants videos comes out, or any videos of that nature comes your way. But until next time, I've been MrEliMac, you've been the audience, and I hope you all remember to have a great rest of the day.